snacks out of the budget, you know, and it feels like your paycheck is a sprint in a marathon, and you're just trying to keep up, but ultimately, a lot of us find ourselves falling behind. Now, the cost of everything, from fixing your car to paying your rent, just seems to be on a one-way trip to the moon. And all the while, you're working harder, but the numbers in your bank account just don't seem to reflect all of that effort. It's a frustrating, exhausting cycle, which is one of the reasons why we've talked about different ways to rearrange our budget. But what if I told you that that's not the full story? And what if I told you that while the news was busy chasing down the latest political drama, a quiet, multi pronged movement was putting more money into the pockets of millions of Americans and easing that pressure on your budget? A pay raise and a cost of living relief that many people haven't fully noticed yet. It didn't come in the form of a single stimulus check. It wasn't one big, flashy federal law that was put into action. Part of it happened at the state and local level, and in a wave of minimum wage increases. At the same time, two other massive shifts were happening. An economic ceasefire is what we're going to be talking about today with China, that began a quiet lowering of the price pressure on everyday goods, and a historic investment that was pushed from Japan that started laying the groundwork for a new generation of American jobs. In tonight's show, we're going to pull back yet another curtain, and we're going to break down how the temporary peace with China combed uh, through all of our frustrations, and combined with a very big surprise investment from Japan, is going to reshape American jobs and businesses. All while a hidden pay raise is making a very, very real and very direct impact on your wallet. Now, this is a story of how your financial reality is being reshaped right under your nose. And before we get into the details, we have to talk about the problem, because the problem is very real and you feel it every day. It is that constant nagging pressure on your finances. We can call it inflation. We can call it cost of living. We can call it financial choices. But what it really is an invisible squeeze on your life. Think about it. The official inflation number might go up or down, but that doesn't capture your reality. Your personal inflation rate isn't some abstract government statistic. It's the price of a gallon of milk. It's the cost of a new set of tires. It's your rent or your mortgage payment that seems to take a bigger and bigger bite out of your income every single year. Over the past few years, we've lived through one of the most turbulent economic periods in modern history, and we saw the supply chains snap, leading to shortages and price hikes. We saw energy prices spike, and on top of it, all the trade wars and reciprocal tariffs that added another layer of cost onto all sorts of goods, from electronics to carports. And the most recent ones that we had in late August, early September, on kitchen cabinets and like couch coverings and all kinds of other stuff that interfered with our ability to expand our real estate development area. And while the federal minimum wage has been stuck at $7.25 an hour since 2009, even though we've started to see some higher pay over the past few years, the cost of living has certainly not stayed the same as that. And I can tell you, in some places like Louisiana, it was 525, like mandatory. It's crazy. The growing gap between wages and costs is the invisible squeeze. It's the direct cost of groceries and gas going up. It's the indirect cost of housing becoming less affordable. And it's the constant barrage of news headlines that only add to the anxiety. So you see your bank account, and you see your bills, and it feels like you're falling behind no matter what you do. When I give you guys a lot of information about trying to make, save, and invest money, some of you feel like it's hopeless to do, that you are living from paycheck to paycheck, because outside of making those changes to reduce the quantity of money that you have to spend on the things that you want to have, you have to consider doing without some of the things that you're used to having in order to have an extra money lying around to do the things that you want to do to make things better going forward. And this is the story that you feel. But there's another story unfolding, one that doesn't always make the national news, but has a profound and positive impact on your finances. It's the story of how the system that was keeping wages stagnant and prices rising is beginning to change piece by piece. While Washington, D.C. has been locked in debate, states and cities across the country took matters into their own hands. So in 2025, while nobody was paying attention, a massive wave of minimum wage increases took into effect, representing one of the most significant pay bumps for low wage workers in recent memory. It wasn't one single event, but a coordinated surge. On January 1st, 2025, a total of 21 states and 48 cities and uh, counties raised their minimum wage. These weren't just token increases for a few cents. In many places, the wage flood jumped substantially. For instance, Delaware and Illinois both saw their minimum wage hit $15, while Maryland also reached the $15 mark. And it didn't stop there. By the end of 2025, a total of 70 jurisdictions, including 9 states and a dozen of the cities, will have their minimum wage at least $15 per hour. Even more impressively, 53 of the locations, like California being $16.50 and Connecticut being $16.35, will have their wage floor exceeding $17 an hour. Later in the year, other states like Florida are set to continue their phases and increasing their wages, where states with minimum wage rising to $14 per hour are on their way to $15 an hour as a mandatory minimum. And I know a lot of people are thinking, oh man, I've been getting 15 far more than just this past year. Right. But you also recognize that after you get your job, you typically get your job at like less than what the current minimum wage is right now, 7, 9, 11, whatever. And then the job will give you a raise after the 90-day training period and put you at that level. And then you won't see another raise for 1 to 5 years. Well, now everybody who's not at 15 will be at 15. Everybody who's getting hired now are going to start being hired at 15 at the very least. And then you're still going to see that $1 to $3 raise for coming out of the 90-day training period and making your way into the usefulness of the company. Anybody who's in a training period and then showing their years of experience might immediately bump to 20 to 25 instead of going from 10 to 18. So it's a huge bump for minimum wage workers. You're going to see it a lot more than those individuals that get $2 to $3 over minimum wage. You're not really going to feel that increase. You might get 50 cents, you might get $1, but you're not going to feel that increase because you're above the minimum wage level. But to understand how momentous this is, you have to realize we're creating a new reality for America and American wages. Because for years, the conversation has been stuck around the federal minimum of $7.25 an hour. And we were talking about this before, where we covered on the show how minimum wage needed to be higher, and it should not be a minimum working wage, it should be a minimum living wage. But now we're looking at this wave of states and local action that is creating a new de facto standard that is far higher than what we're used to. And these raises are happening through two main mechanisms. Some are scheduled, legislated step ups on the path to the target, like 15 an hour or higher, while others are automatic annual adjustments tied to inflation expectations. This movement isn't just happening in traditionally high cost coastal states, it's happening everywhere. And we saw the increases in places like Nebraska raising to 1350, Missouri to 1375, and Michigan to 1248. And some of y'all that's making 17 and 18 are like, oh, that's nothing because I'm getting $5 or $7 more than that. But then ask you, when's the last time your boss gave you a raise? This geographic diversity shows a broad consensus is building. The old wage floors are no longer acceptable, and this is a direct cash infusion for the workers who need it the most. So, what does this all actually mean for you? Well, it means your wallet finally gets some breathing room and the relief that comes from two different directions. More money coming in and less pressure on the price that you pay. Because first, the pay raises. Millions of low wage workers are going to get that immediate increase. For full-time workers, a raise from 13 to 14 an hour means an extra $160 a month. That votes the same if you're going from 14 to 15 or from 15 to 17. And that's money that can go directly towards paying for groceries. It's the first thing that we're going to start doing, buying more food, buying better quality food. It'll be able to help you cover car payments or pay off medical bills, get much needed car repair. You know, a lot of people that buy used tires because they can't afford to buy new tires might actually go buy the new tires that go a longer distance. But the impact goes even deeper. Economists refer to a spillover effect. When the wage floor is raised in such a dramatic way, and employers often adjust their entire pay scale upward to maintain the gap between roles, meaning the raises ripple up in income ladders. So those that was getting $3 above minimum wage would still be getting $3 above minimum wage when we reflect the fact that minimum wage is raising up to $16, $15, $16. If you were getting $3 above minimum wage when it was $7.50 or $7.75, $8 an hour, everyone else gets a $3 raise, you're likely to get a $3 raise too. But at the same time, that wages are going up for many, a separate force is working to keep prices down. Because in 2025, the United States and China agreed to a tariff ceasefire in recent times. And instead of letting high tariffs snap back into place the way they were supposed to do after the delay in August, they cut many of them down to about 10% and locked that rate in for a full year. And remember, when we talked about this in August, they were at 34%. They're 34 from the United States to China and 25 from China to the United States. This is huge for it to be down to 10% now. Lower tariffs mean smaller cost on imported goods and parts like electronics, machinery, and components. That reduces the risk of new price spikes that would otherwise squeeze your budget. On top of that, China rolled back several retaliatory tariffs on the United States exports, especially farm products, helping American industries. And the US reduced special fentanyl related tariffs. So, for those of you that are interested in fentanyl, it's going to be in higher supply now. But this 1 year window of stability means companies can plan with more confidence, reducing the risk of sudden disruptions that cost jobs. Because you notice that when they did the rollback on alcohol distribution in Canada, a lot of people lost their jobs because not only the people who were delivering the product in Canada no longer had anything to deliver, the people who were manufacturing the product no longer had product that needed to be manufactured because of the overflow. They had to redirect the product to different countries, and in the meantime, they had a surplus of product and not enough purchasers of the product. So the creation of the product slowed down a little bit, which laid off the people who were in the midst of creating the product. So now, with this guaranteed increase, for you, it means the price pressure from the trade wars is finally easing up, giving your paychecks more power. When lower income families have more money from wage raises and face more stable prices, they spend it at a local grocery store, the neighborhood diner, and the auto repair shop. It creates a positive feedback loop. Workers have more money to spend, businesses have more customers, and the community becomes more resilient. This combination of higher wages and easier trade tensions is more than just a temporary boost. It helps to forge a new standard for the American jobs. For over a decade, the stagnant federal minimum wage eroded the value of work. The actions taken by states in 2025 are a powerful statement that this is no longer acceptable. This creates a job boom, and this is going to be one of a different kind. It's not about a single factory opening, but about improving the quality of millions of existing jobs while creating new ones in high quality fashion. Raising the minimum wage reduces employee turnovers because a lot of us quit our jobs because we're not making enough money. And we'll quit our job and go work for another company just to make an extra dollar an hour more. We would like to leave our job and go somewhere else and get a $5 boost, but let's be real. If your job won't give you that dollar raise, but the competitor will, you'll quit, go to the next job, get the dollar raise for starting, and they might give you a quarter raise on top of that or a 50, 75-cent raise on top of that because they didn't think that you were going to work that hard. And you started on a new job and you're making $1.75 more than what you started with. And like we said before, just a mere dollar an hour raise on a full-time worker gives you an extra $160 a paycheck. That's a lot of money. So raising minimum wage reduces that employee turnover. And It saves businesses money on recruitment because they spend a lot of money on advertising recruitment. They spend a lot of money on interviews. They spend a lot of money on training time. And they have to continuously do this where they lose good talent in order to gain new talent. Sometimes they luck up and they gain good experienced talent or hire former talent. But remember, if you fired former talent for lack of productivity, 9 times out of 10, they haven't improved. So when you hire them back, you're hiring back a problem, which increases turnover ratio because eventually you're going to get rid of them again. So not having to get rid of the good people that you have on the clock or lose the good people that you have on the clock allows you to curate the bad people out of the workforce and allow for an improved work ethic, because you got to understand that for every shift that there's a bad worker, it brings down the morale of the good workers. This is going to create a more stable, experienced workforce. As more states adopt a $15 or higher minimum wage, it puts competitive pressure on businesses everywhere to lift wages. And for any company that has yet to fall back on automation, where they're placing human workers for machines, they're going to spend more time and more effort leaning towards rectifying the lack of wages. One of the reasons why several Amazon stores have gone union. One of the reasons why a few of the Starbucks stores have gone union. Because until they're 100% automated, they have to rely on human workers, and they will have to meet the demand of the workers. Now, this is happening alongside another major economic shift. It is a massive multi-year investment push from Japan. And they're going to be doing that into the United States government, because as part of a broader trade understanding with the United States and its allies, Japan has committed to a huge wave of investments in American manufacturing, autos, technology, and infrastructure projects. And this isn't just a line item in a trade deal. It means real world job creation. First, it creates construction jobs to build and upgrade plants and facilities. Then it creates ongoing positions in manufacturing, engineering, and maintenance. These projects don't just benefit the people who get those jobs, they also boost local tax bases and create secondary income for nearby businesses like restaurants, housing, and local services, spreading the economic benefits throughout the community. Because wherever a business starts up, workers got to eat, workers got to sleep, workers need transportation, workers need gas for their transportation. You start building a neighborhood this way. This is a massive upgrade for the American workforce. One of the things that was said in the last election campaign was, one, the creation of new jobs, and two, bringing American manufacturing back to the United States. Well, here it is. You have states raising the floor on existing jobs, making them more stable and livable. And at the same time, you have a major ally making a long-term investment to create the next generation of skilled American jobs. So it's not just about what you can buy today, it's about building a more stable future for tomorrow. So why isn't this combination of events front page news every single day? because it's a complex story spread across dozens of states, international trade agreements, and corporate boardrooms. It's easier to talk about abstract national numbers than it is to explain how a patchwork of state laws, a tariff ceasefire, and foreign investments are collectively improving the financial lives of millions of Americans. But this is where the real economic shifts are happening. This is the story behind the story. And this is your pay raise, your neighborhood, uh, the improvements of accessibility to jobs. It's the newfound price of stability on the things that you buy. And it's the foundation being laid for better jobs in your community coming soon. Now, the mainstream narrative often focuses on what federal government is or isn't doing. But the most powerful change is often the one that happens closer to home. We typically pay attention to so many things in our life that has absolutely no impact on our life besides a conversation piece or personal entertainment. But there are so many things that happen in our lives that we don't pay attention to that has direct impacts on our ability to be successful. And yet, we do not pay attention to the things that impact our ability to be successful. I know a lot of people are going to blame the extra money on their paychecks from the non-taxed overtime. Technically, overtime is still taxed. It's just going to get a massive deduction. So when you file your taxes, you're going to see a larger tax return this year off of all of the overtime hours that are being taxed on your paycheck as it stands. Because you and I both know that when we look at our check stubs, you do not see untaxed overtime hours. Your whole check is taxed the way it's supposed to be taxed, but you're going to be getting that tax credit in the 2025 tax year. That's going to reimburse you on all of those overtime hours that wasn't supposed to be taxed. Businesses have that exemption this year where that line item of untaxed money is exempt from penalties because this is the pilot year. So in 26, you might start seeing your check show regular hours, overtime hours, and the overtime hours not get taxed. But the regular hours, even at 60 hours, the regular hourly rate get taxed. You'll see tips in a different line item untaxed up to a certain amount. But that's going into the 2026 year. Because I know all of us, we're like, man, I thought we weren't going to be paying taxes on this, but they're taking it out of your check. So that means that really you're just getting a bigger refund back at the end of the year. Through the quiet machinery of global economy, we find some of the most drastic changes that you typically notice when you're buying something that's being shipped in from overseas, when you're going to impulse buy on something that used to be a certain price, and then you see that end of the year discount sale, and then after the end of the year discount sale, the price doesn't go back up. You will find these changes in the full accessibility of products that wasn't accessible before, where it was on limited supply and you had to get it while it was in stores, and now it's full on the shelves. You're looking at different changes that are slowly trickling in and quickly building up to put you in a position to be more successful for the upcoming years. And I mean, if you want to continue understanding the real stories that actually affect your money and your future, then you got to make sure that you like and subscribe on this channel and hit those notification buttons, because we cut through all the noise to bring you guys the insights that you won't find anywhere else. But let's bring it together. At the beginning of tonight's show, we told you that America got pretty decent pay raises all the way across the board for the financial minimum wage limits, and a dose of financial relief that you might not have even noticed. Some of you probably got that raise and didn't even see it on your check stubs. And now you're seeing that it wasn't a single event, but a powerful, widespread movement reshaping financial reality for millions of Americans. First, we talked about that invisible squeeze, the relentless pressure of rising prices and stagnant wages that has hit workers directly in their wallets. Then we revealed the quiet revolutions that's pushing back, and it is happening in three key ways. Part one is the massive wave of the state and local minimum wages that are increasing, and that took effect throughout 2025, putting more money directly into the paychecks of millions of workers. Part two is that economic ceasefire with China that happened most recently towards the end of 2025 that will start impacting us dramatically going into 2026. By cutting and freezing tariffs, it is easing the price pressure on everything from consumer goods to industrial parts, giving your wallet much needed breathing room. And finally, part three is the new standard for American jobs being built by Japan's massive investment push into the United States manufacturing and technology infrastructure. This is going to be creating a new generation of stable, well-paying jobs and strengthening local economies. And this is the real story of the American economy right now. It's happening beneath the surface of the daily news cycle. As we see all the time, Donald Trump is giving us a different presidential push about something else that we find worth talking about. But the things that are impacting our wallet on a day-to-day basis, that is not something that we're always talking about. The pay raise and the financial reliefs are here, whether you've noticed them or not, and they aren't in a single government check. They are hidden in the pay stubs of millions of workers, in the price tags at the store, and in the new jobs coming to American towns. You're also going to notice that it's going to be in the larger tip outs from the customers because the customers have more money to tip out. You just have to know where to look. And one of the things that we need to pay attention to is that while things are starting to slowly increase for the better, while things are starting to ever so slightly improve on a week by week, check by check basis, we need to better budget the way that we're going to be spending this money. Because when you find yourself having more extra capital in your pocket than what you had last month and the month before, instead of wasting that on impulse buying, now I can buy that video game I always wanted. Instead, you need to be able to put that money in places where the money is starting to generate more money for you so that in the upcoming year, you can start building more and more wealth. We have been talking about in many of occasions, putting it somewhere. You've got the CDs that you can buy into that locks in interest rates. You've got bonds that you can get into that locks in interest rates, and government bonds that lock in interest rates and defer taxation until the end of the maturity of the bond contract. Other ways that you can generate revenue, but generating revolving cash is cash dividend stocks, because you can buy growth stocks where the value of the stock is the value of money that you have, and if you sell it higher than what you bought into it, it'll give you a return on investment. The same as buying in the gold and the same as buying in the cryptocurrency. But buying and holding a cash stock will give you back cash money. Dividend paying stocks will give you back cash money by holding the stock, which allows you to make money every month off of keeping something. Instead of having to buy it, hold it, watch the stock market, and look for the best time to sell it, you literally can buy it, hold it, and just add to it whenever the stock goes down from where it used to be. And then when it goes up to where it starts showing a massive surplus, if you want to sell something, you could, but you don't necessarily have to. You can actually only buy into the dips. So when your stock is up, you don't buy into it, but when it's down, you buy into it because it's a dividend paying stock. It doesn't matter if it's worth $1 or if it's worth $1,000, your dividend distribution is always going to be the same. So if you have a stock that's $300-400 a share, if it drops down to $200 a share, that's when you buy into it. If you have a stock that's $2.85 a share and it drops down to $2.40 a share, that's when you buy into it. You have a stock that's $30 a share, and when it drops down to $20 a share, that's when you buy into it. But if it goes up to $50 a share, that's not when you're buying into it. You're buying into one of the other ones that dropped, so that you have more shares at a cheaper price. That's going to be giving you more dividends over a period of time. And one of the things that we've discussed is, if in the event that you're bulk buying once a month, so all of your dividends come in for the month, and then you find the one stock that does dip, and then you buy into it, keeping the spread the same. You want to have probably 10 or 15 stocks, 10 or 15 really good paying stocks, and then you want to put your money across all of these stocks so that you can take the dividends and keep re-adding into those 15 stocks. You can continue to run through and try to get 25 or 30 stocks. Typically somewhere after 15, you start leveling off all of the volatility. And if you're going across each one of the markets, you should have 2 or 3 stocks from each industry. And across 5 industries, that's plenty of diversification where you can buy into the best performing stock or buy into the lowest performing stock in a specific industry anytime during the year and continue to improve your portfolio. This gives you the most quantity of success over time, because while money will continue to grow slowly, dividends will continue to increase slowly, your extra money is going to continue to increase slowly, and you will continue to improve that portfolio until you reach a point where you're making more money off of this portfolio than what you're making off of your daily job. That motivation to keep working on your job and keep investing in this opportunity gives you the ability to make things work in a way where when you do decide that it is time to retire, when you decide to hang your hat up for the last time, when you decide to tap out for the last time, when you decide to punch that clock for the last time, you now have a financial plan to walk out of this situation and walk into success, where your retirement is not contingent on disability. It's not contingent on Social Security. It's not contingent on if the government has a budget to pay you, because your money will pay you from your personal investment in yourself. And if you're one of those adults that's trying to build a legacy, your retirement looks like financial stability for your kids. And the number of kids that you have, the more finances you have to build up. So with these improvements that's happening, you're now starting to get more options. Notice the Trump accounts that are for all the newborns that happen in 25 through 28. Those Trump accounts, fantastic opportunities to build the wealth of your kids. Extra money that you got coming in, instead of impulse buying, you can invest in your kids' future so that when your kids get 18, it's not about putting them in college. We just covered the show just a couple days ago about how not all the time are going to college going to turn you out a profit. But putting enough money aside and investing in your kids' 20-year plan so that they can buy a house when they're 18. Doesn't matter if you're renting or not. If your kids can buy a house when they're 18 Either y'all can all move into the house that your kids own so that you don't have to worry about paying rent anymore, or rent out the house, or the kids can move out into a house where they can pay a lower cost of living, which makes it better for them. And again, if you're in a situation where finances are tough, if the kids buy the house and you guys mortgage the house, or the kids buy the house and you guys are renting out the house, then you're able to live in the house with the kids and have different incomes coming in that helps the kids keep the houses until the kids find their stability. Because an 18-year-old can put the money down on the house, and then mom and dad can keep paying on the mortgage until the kids get their jobs together. By the time the kids finish getting themselves together with college and everything to that effect, mom and dad have moved on and traveling the world, or living in a different country, or uh, uh, whatever the case may be, but the whole family is stable. And that's one of the things that you're looking at. You're looking at building stability. It starts with you stabilizing your check for yourself. And if you're single and you want to get into a relationship, you want to stabilize your income. Then you want to find a financially stable partner. And a financially stable partner isn't just finding a girlfriend or a wife that's got money, because that's what women think, that men are looking for a woman that's got a good job. We don't care about that, but we definitely care about you being the kind of person that's not going to waste all of the money that the guy is working for. So you're finding a financially stable partner, somebody that's not wasteful. And then y'all are going to come together and try to build a kind of life where you can build yourselves financially stable children. And once you have successfully done that, where you can retire and not have to work, and your standard of living is covered, and your children are stable and they can go to work and they can take care of themselves, you have successfully done in your life what you are supposed to be doing, where everybody is going to be self-sustainable. He said, gold and silver sold off today big time. You think I should buy more? If you want to. Gold and silver has been consistent, because as you recognized yesterday and the day before, it was right around 4,500 for gold, and right around $52 for silver. So it's not like it made a massive $5,000 bump. But I do believe that if you're buying for growth, whether it's gold or silver, buying for growth with uh, uh, non-cash paying stocks, buying for a long-term dividend by buying off um, other areas like ETFs and other such stuff. I mean, you can buy that stuff off if you want to, but you also can get the cash dividends, and that'll give you consistency when you're buying into them. He's saying markets are selling off. That uh, I mean, you can word it like markets are selling off, but it's the end of the year, bro. You got people that I told you guys the trends are that they buy in to all of the stock investments and everything, including gold, silver, and Bitcoin and everything like that. They buy into it towards the end of the year, and the reason why they buy into it towards the end of the year is because any investments that exist January 1st, which is a couple days from now, is a tax deduction. So you're claiming that the market is just selling everything off, but it's not that. It's all the people who cashed out are buying back in as much as they can buy back in before the first. That's what's happening. And yeah, granted, somebody has to sell in order for somebody to buy, because the market doesn't just have uh, uh, anything, stocks, gold, or anything like that, that's just floating with no ownership. Somebody owns it and somebody else is trying to get it. But the recognition that you have is that everything is just uh, being reinvested in, which is the macro trend that I told you guys quite a few times. When we first started talking about this, when you tried to tell everybody to sell off all of their stocks and go into crypto and go into gold and silver, and I kept telling you that that wasn't going to work for anyone, because that fictitious knowledge would just lead them to losing out on long-term investments. The macro level trends is that The large investors typically cash out after Halloween so that they can have a good Thanksgiving. They buy back in after Thanksgiving. Some people cash out after Thanksgiving so that the money clears in time for them to have a good Christmas. They buy back in right after Christmas, and that is the last time that you see a bump in the fiscal year, because everything that's going to get bought into gets bought into between the 26th and the 31st, because definitely the first is a holiday. And then after that, everything that's bought in on the second is for the new year. So think about, today is the 29th, 30th. All of the buying in is going to happen today and tomorrow, because you can't guarantee the stock market's going to be open on the 31st. But if it is open on the 31st, that's it, because the first, it is closed. And that's all that's happening this week. So from Monday till about Thursday, whatever money can be spent, that's what's going to be spent. And then Thursday, the first, is closed. And then the second is a new fiscal year. So the market itself is not selling off. That's a one-sided concept. And that's what Broad Logic was talking about. That's a one-sided concept. It's not that the market is selling off. It is that everyone who pulled out in October is actually buying back in December, putting as much as they can on the books before the end of the fiscal year, so that when they do their taxes, they can claim a larger majority of still invested in versus the profit that they got out of cutting high. Because the taxation is not going to look at the number of shares you have now. They're going to look at how much did you profit versus how much did you spend. If you spent more than you made by the end of the fiscal year, you're under. If you made more than you spent by the end of the fiscal year, you're over. And with that logic, they're only paying attention to if the overall portfolio is higher or lower, not how many shares are across the ballot. If you broke even, where you got 10 times more shares now than what you had at the beginning of the year, but the value is still the same, you haven't made a profit. But when the dividends start paying you in January, that's where the profit comes in. So, you got to look at the other side of the coin, because otherwise, information like Broad Logic telling you guys, oh yeah, the market is selling off, should I buy gold? I don't know. He says, I hear you, bro. Have a good night. Thank you very much. I appreciate you stopping by. But it is better for you to look at the other side of things. It always is. Because the truth of the matter is that, yeah, you can go and buy that gold and silver if you want to, but the gold and silver that you're holding, you have to keep it until it makes more money than you bought into it. And since the 70s, it's gone up like 200% since the 70s, but that's since the 70s. That's like 55, 65 years. You're trying to start getting cash dividend returns on your investment right now. The only option that I have found, besides hitting it big in real estate and buying and renting out a property, which takes a massive investment as well, is buying into cash dividend stocks. Something that you buy today, and in 30 days, it's going to pay you out money. Or if you're getting the quarterlies, where you buy today, and at the end of the quarter, it's going to pay you out money. Those are the things. Now, I recommend that if you haven't started yet, you should have already started. But if you haven't started yet, you should buy into monthly cash payers first. Start your portfolio there. I've got a whole list of them on the show, and I'm going to be updating the list for tomorrow night's show. But this is the whole list. You buy the 15 cheapest cash dividend stocks, the most undervalued ones. Get those. You should have about 5 of them that are monthly stocks, and then 10 of them that are quarterly stocks, and hold those, averaging about 16 or 17% across the board between the stocks that are upward of 18 and 20% and the stocks that are lower, closer to the 14 to 15% range. You'd be averaging about 16, 17% return on your total portfolio investment. And it will be paying you, the majority of it would be paying you monthly, but quarterly, which, because these are different months of quarterly, they would give you every month a different value from a different stock for that stock's quarter. And you would still be getting money every month, where you could then take that extra money, reinvest it in, plus whatever you're adding on to the principal, and increase that principal every year. And I've told you guys this on a regular basis, that if you're putting away 40,000 a year and you're getting over 15% return on that, that 40,000 a year is going in at 55,000 or 60,000 a year. And if you're doing that for 10 years, that's $600,000. And if you're holding $600,000 in 10 years, that $600,000 at over 15%, almost 20%, is going to be giving you well over $150,000 to $200,000 a year return, which means that you only have to do that for 10 years. And you will be making more money off of your portfolio than what you're making off of your job right now. And then 10 years later, if you did it for another 10 years, you'd be at over $1.5 million, where you would be making $250,000 a year. And that's a 20-year plan. Now, for those people who can't find $40,000 a year out of their own individual paycheck, think about those relationships where you're hooking up with somebody and y'all are pulling y'all's money together, 20 from you and 20 from her, or 20 from you and 20 from him. That's still 40,000 a year, which, when you think about, a little under 1,500 a month from each of you. And y'all can find yourselves not being broke inside of 5 years, being more than well off inside of 10 years, seeing substantial return inside of 15 years, and being able to quit everything inside of 20 years. As if I buy anything, it would Palantir and Intel. That pretty much yet. Everything else is overvalued. Well, that's not true, because Palantir and Intel are growth stocks. So, when you look at the stocks that I've got going across the bottom of the screen, you've got quite a few of them that are undervalued stocks. Specifically, when you're looking at Earn at 564, you're looking at what was the other one? ADR. That one's a good one, $12.03. You're looking at actually just recently PSEC, that just had the ex-dividend just yesterday. PSEC, they're at 245. Orchid Island, it's like $6 or $7. AGNC, it's like $9. And these are what would be considered penny stocks, because their value have gone down to less than $10 a share, but they're giving you between 12 cents or 24 cents a share on either a monthly basis or a quarterly basis. There's plenty of them, and you've seen them going across the screen. There's about 50 stocks going across the screen right now, and about 35 or 40 of them are all cash stocks. And each one of those stocks, well, those are the prices from the last time I looked at it, but each one of those stocks are significantly cheaper than the few $100 stock like Tesla and all those other ones that are good growth stocks to get. Johnson & Johnson's a good one to get. Exxon Mobil, Chevron, Shell, those are good ones to get, but those are well over $100 a share. So if you're getting one stock that is well over $100 a share, like Ellington, and then you find a stock that's 1% of that, giving 5 cents a share, you can buy 100 shares of PSEC for 1 share of Ellington. So for $1 of Ellington, you get $5 of PSEC, which is 5 times more return. Instead of getting $5,000 a year on your investment, you'd be getting $25,000, 5 times more investment. Instead of you getting $5,000 a year, you start getting closer to $3,000 to $4,000 a month. When you start getting paid $2,000 to $3,000 a month, $3,000 to $4,000 a month, $5,000 to $7,000 a month on your stock portfolio, now you're starting to say that my rent can be paid for by my stock option. My car note can be paid for by my stock option. That and why I tell you this is because, like I said, in 5 years, you start seeing more money coming back to you than you need. I do not encourage the standard of living inflation by buying more expensive stuff because you've got more money. But if you've got a car that is on its last legs and you honestly need to upgrade your vehicle, if your stock portfolio is paying you $2,000 a month, you've got $800 a month to pay on a car. In 10 years, because that's 5 years in 10 years, if you're making $70,000 a year off your portfolio, you've got enough money to pay $2,000 or $3,000 a month on your mortgage. So if you're renting an apartment and you want to buy a house, you can do that now. And because mortgages are tax deductible, you could, instead of paying the bare minimum of that mortgage, you can get that 30-year fixed mortgage and then put $5,000 or $7,000 a month down on a mortgage, because that's what you're getting off the stock option. Pay the house off inside of 3 years, get maximum tax deductions for putting all your investments on your mortgage, and you're doing great. Because with the mortgage being paid down quickly, the installment loan gets paid down quickly, your credit score goes up. And if you wanted to remortgage that property for 50% of the value of that property and go buy a second property with the same lender, they're going to give it to you because you've already paid it off the first time. And you would be able to go and buy a second property and use that second property to build up rental property. You might have your single family home backed by your stock option, leveraged towards a second home that's drawing in revenue, paying on the mortgage. With two extra sources of income, because you've got your rental property and your stock portfolio, you can leverage both of those to pick up a third property and continue to expand. Between the two tenants that you have in a stock portfolio, if you're making more than enough money to cover your standard of living, you could always reduce your work hours and then focus on expanding the company. Because this is a business now. All of this stuff comes from being able to make more money off your jobs because wages are going up, getting more job stability, spending less money on getting the things that you need because the tariffs have gone down, but financially maximizing the stuff that you're trying to get and utilizing that to benefit your future. Because just having a bunch of extra money to waste, I mean, yeah, you can do that. But having more money, making more money for you, that is the best thing for you. That is the best thing for you. So when he said that everything else is overvalued, and you're looking at all the stocks going across the screen that are undervalued, the most largest collection, core satellite portfolio of undervalued cash dividend stocks that anybody will find anywhere else. When Bro Lacha comes up with something, y'all, he brings y'all left field information, and I got to bring you the truth. And you can't deny it, because if you look at these tickers, if you go and do research on these tickers, you will come to find out that yes, these stocks are the cheapest ones with the highest payouts on a regular basis that are blue chip stocks. And with the economy changing right now, anything in real estate investment is going to take a slight dip because of the rollback on interest rates, which means you can buy them at a cheaper rate. The interest rates, the dividends that are going to be paid out are going to stay the same, so you can get them lower, get more money off of them, and build on it. So for 2026, you should be building the best portfolio that you could possibly build, so that in 2027, your money is making more money for you. So that by 2029, you are seeing results. Come 2030, your money is making more money for you than you need to make for yourself. Come 2035, you can quit your job. Hold on. I'm in 2026 telling you that if you do it right, you could quit working at 2035. That is 9 years from now. And regardless of how old you are, if you put the money away correctly, I'm telling you, by 2035, 2036, you will be able to travel the world. You'll be able to pay for your current standard of living while traveling the world, so that you still have a house to come back to when you get back to the States. And you no longer have to deal with the stress of working on a job that you dislike, staying in a relationship that you're not happy in for the sake of the money, or struggling to make ends meet. Damaging a relationship with a fantastic partner, because that's always an option too. So you guys got to remember, no matter what you do, there's always another way, and you guys got to keep your eyes open for it. Make sure that you guys take the opportunity to like and subscribe, because tomorrow we're going to be talking about different ways that we can get into real estate and utilize those deeds to turn us a profit, whether we're buying it for ourselves, selling it to someone else. We're going to be going through the ins and outs of that for tomorrow. And then Wednesday, we're going to be talking about a different country that we're going to be investing in, that we could actually move to, that could be ideally affordable. Or we find us another culture shock like we did with Norway from last Wednesday, and learn a whole new thing that'll help us make ourselves a little bit better. Because anything that is good and functioning in another location, whether it's in another state, another city, another country, if the business model works, if the social model works, and you incorporate that functioning model into your way of life, you'll find better results in your own life. So we look at everything. We go everywhere. And with that being said, I want to say, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. I want to give a special shout out to those of you that's been watching us from Twitter X, and those of you that's watching us from Twitch, because you guys could have interacted throughout the show, because this is a highly interactive podcast, and we'd love to hear from you guys over on the Twitter side of things, and for those of you that are on the Twitch side of things. So remember, when you come back to tomorrow's show, that when you dive in, that you should be able to dive in and chime into the show, put your 2 cents in. Feel free to ask a question, because even though we're broadcasting off of YouTube, we are catering to Twitter, Twitch, and 2 different platforms of YouTube. And coming soon, as soon as they finish doing what they got to do, we more than likely will be coming from TikTok as well. We just got to wait until they finish getting their stuff together. So with that being said, if any of you have missed any parts of tonight's show, I want you guys to start it over from the beginning, because it's going to be on replay for Twitch. Well, no, it's going to be on replay for Twitter. If you're watching us from Twitch, you have to catch the replay on YouTube. And make sure that you like and subscribe if you haven't done so when you get over to the YouTube side of things. And take a look at the next week and a half worth of stuff that we've got up there, because we've got a lot of shows ready for you guys to hit that notification button. I want to thank you guys for coming to tonight's show. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night.
My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my